Hey, welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. Hey, folks, how you guys doing? I trust that your weekend was just fine. I trust that your weekend was fine. Hey, there's an issue with the chat. I had the chat going for the last sequence and forgot to restart it. So anybody who put anything in the chat, I'm going to try to read it off the several different feeds that we have here. But if I miss something, you know why. That I started the chat late. So let me go ahead into the individual chats as opposed to the combination of chats to say, welcome aboard, Paul Fleming from Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Welcome aboard, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas. Yes, Bruce, it was a tough morning. We still have problems in the studio with the transmission over our internet line that gets my signal out to the transmitter, and we got a whole lot of echo, all that kind of stuff. Howard is working hard on it. He has some other things that he had to do today, but he's working hard at it. So in the long run, we're going to get it. But for the time being, meaning for today. But good. I tell you what I did, though. Gene Eigel is from Alvin, Texas, and he's in his house right now. Carl Cox is from Georgia. Don't remember what town. I always miss it. I'm going to have to learn it slowly. Maywood from Long Beach, California. I heard you guys had a small earthquake in Pasadena. Did you feel the earthquake, Maywood? Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. And let's see who else I have. Let me jump to the stream on YouTube, and that one has Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, Yvette, our beautiful union person. And of course, if it's Monday, it is Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Great to see you here, Melanie. Great having you in the house. Let's see who else I've got here that I've missed. I think I got Gene Geigel as well. Carl Cox, I think I got Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. Riverdale. Put it in your head, Egberto. Riverdale, Georgia. That makes me shoot it off a lot quicker. And Eric Hayes, of course, he's cleaning up for November. He is in. I'm curious to see what Hayes has to go, because let's see what Hayes had to say. That's the last message in the group. He says, cleaning up for November. Virginia this week removed more than 6,300 non-citizens from the state's voter rolls as part of the election security measures spearheaded by Governor Glenn Youngkin. On Wednesday, Youngkin signed an executive order instructing the Department of Elections to remove non-citizens who may have purposefully or accidentally registered to vote. Pursuant to the order, the state also identified and removed from the voter rolls 79,867 deceased voters and identified registered voters who had moved out of state. I like how you start with immigrants, right? Let me tell you something. What happens a lot of times, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, is people have these things to register people to vote, and they just go and give them an application and they register to vote. But they know they can't vote and they don't vote. That the fact of the matter is they don't vote, and you know why they don't vote? Because they don't check out. Anybody who thinks there's a problem with immigrants, undocumented immigrants voting, or resident aliens voting, I've got a bridge to sell you. I remember when I had a green card, not yet a United States citizen, and they signed me up to be a voter, etc. We all know very well, when you get that green card, you know very well you're not supposed to vote unless you become a United States citizen. Don't let anybody fool you into believing that somehow there are a whole lot of foreigners voting in these elections to help the Democrats. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, okay? If you think it happens, I've got a bridge to sell you somewhere. All right, Paul Fleming says, J.D. Vance touts himself as being pro-family, but he voted against a bill that would have protected IVF treatments. He opposes universal child care programs, and he missed the vote. Yeah, I read that. He missed. I didn't get the whole sentence, but he did miss the vote, Paul Fleming, to give family leave, etc., etc. These guys are only family people when they want to make a scene, but they don't give a damn about families. That's why they don't believe in SNAP programs. That's why they'll give monies to people who haven't earned it, the wealthy, and try to take it out of the mouths of people who work their butts off for less than standard wages, the average working class American, right? But anyway, I got a lot of videos for you guys today, including one that I cleaned up from this morning. As Bruce said, we had a terrible time with echo this morning on our program. So what I did is I cleaned up my rant, a very important rant. I cleaned it up as best I could because I wanted to play the essence of that rant. But before, let me read Paul Fleming's statement that says, "What a great statement it would have been with more informed depth of coverage and a draw for younger voters if they had chosen a woman as one of the anchors. Instead, they've doubled down on the male point of view. CBS continues to think women aren't strong anchors, but they had consistently lower ratings with men before O'Donnell. The problem is not the anchor. It's the old stale format of evening news. This was their chance to think outside of the box, and they blew it." What am I missing there, Paul? Did CBS change its anchor? Something I don't know about yet? Enlighten me, please. All right. Paul Fleming also said Kelsey Norris de la Cruz, 25, lost a fallopian tube and most of an ovary after a Texas hospital sent her home without treating her ectopic pregnancy. "The doctors knew I needed an abortion, but these bans are making nearly impossible to get basic health care." Absolutely so. That's true. All right. I have a rant that I did this morning on KPFT. We had some echo problems. I ran it through my processor to clean it up, and I chopped out a lot of the extraneous stuff to break it down to under 10 minutes. So what I want to do is that's where I want to start. And the title of this piece, let me go ahead and tell you what the title is. It's called, electing, ábreme por favor, lo quiero cambiar. It's called, electing Trump the first time was a mistake. A second time would prove we are in decline. Let's go ahead and play that, which is the first rant I did this morning at KPFT. I cleaned it up. I tried to get most of the echo out. It's still some of it there, but work with me on this one. Forgive me for the bad quality, but it's the best I could do. But the message is very important. Here we go. Many of the people who support Donald Trump, and I don't say this to be disrespectful, they either don't see or don't care how we're perceived around the rest of the world. And the rest of the world are scared with reason that we could devolve into Trump presidency again, and with all the damage that it would do to the world. Again, when you're the leader of the world, what you do matter. I don't know. Some people say, well, who gave you the authority to be leader of the world? Well, our strength made us the leader. The amount of stuff that we have the power to do around the world makes us the leader. How did we get there? Well, that's a different story, but we are the leader of the world, and people do look up to us. And the thing about it is, a Trump presidency, the first time, folks look at as, well, America made a mistake. Every country is due one. Every country is due a mulligan. If we were to do it again, it would show something systemic in America. And that would be the demise of our leadership. Because at that point, countries of the world start looking for alternatives. And I'm not saying alternative countries, but what we would be looking at are alternative alliances. There would be no BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and about 13 other countries that are trying now to establish a new
financial management system, if the decline that we've seen in America based, not, people like Trump alone, it's not just Trump. The decline started from the contract on America. Don't know if you guys remember that document from former House leader, but it started with the contract on America. When we started to have policies, there's a time that you had Republican policies and Democratic policies, and, they weren't the same, but they were based on at least a philosophy that made mathematical sense. Wanting small government is a thing. I don't like the idea of just saying we want small government, low taxes, because what it meant is you had a less involved government. And in having a less involved government, there are certain social services, certain things for social well-being that wouldn't be there. It is expected that you lift yourself up on your own. If you can't make it, either charity takes care of helping you out or you die. That's the theory behind small government, rugged individualism. Then there is, of course, what we have, which is right-sized government, a strong government, a government that can be strong, that must be stronger than the largest corporation, the largest conglomerate of corporations. And why is that? Because the government is the will of the people. The corporation is the will of the individuals that govern, that own that corporation. They have diametrically opposed interests. A corporation's interest within a capitalist society, corporations' sole responsibility. It's not to the employee. It's not to the country. It's not to the people. It is solely to the shareholders and the executives. And as the god of new capitalism has stated, Milton Friedman, they have no responsibility to employees. They have no responsibility to climate change. They have no responsibility to environment. Their sole responsibility is to make a buck for the shareholder. And, Milton Friedman says the other things are the purview of somebody else, meaning the government. Under that scenario, then, it is incumbent that the government be strong and the government have strong regulations to prevent that entity whose sole purpose, whose sole responsibility is to themselves to protect us all. That's the purpose of government. And that requires right-sized government. You want to know what it looks like when government doesn't do its job? Love Canal, the polluted Ohio River, pollution throughout beaches that you can't swim in, food that you can't eat, polluted groundwater because oil wells are not regulated and they're dumping oil from one strata into the water table. And as long as you don't have strong government to prevent these things from occurring, then the old Republican mantra of small government makes sense. Then that makes sense. I am not for that. I'm for a very strong government, free enterprise, which means you want to have your pizza shop, have at it. You want to have a grocery store, have at it. You want to invent automobiles, go out. Do all these things on your own. That's perfect. But do it so that it harms no one. And how do we ensure it harms no one? Regulations by we, the people. It's not hard to see this. The problem is that we've had a concerted effort over the decades with the advent of think tanks like the Heritage Foundation, the same people who came up with Project 2025, to fool you into believing that government, the right-sized government, is bad for you, and that somehow the private sector can do it better. And to accept that, you have to forget math. You have to forget the thinking process. Let's give a classic example in healthcare. They want you to believe that, first of all, by the way, insurance companies don't give healthcare. They want to make you believe that health insurance companies are a good thing, and that somehow having a whole lot of health insurance companies are a good thing for you. It gives you choices. No, that's not true at all. It gives you a choice to make what bad choice you have to make. As an example, whenever you have health insurance, each health insurance company has a board of directors, presidents, lawyers, database management software, advertising costs, a whole lot of costs in having a private health insurance company. And if you have one, that cost is only one time. But if you have hundreds of health insurance companies to choose from, well, all those costs of having a president and executive committee and having advertising to fight each other to see who's going to win over the customer costs money. And all that money that it costs to have those insurance companies go into the premium you pay for insurance. So that it costs more to have a lot of insurance companies as opposed to having one person that aggregates all of our money and then pays a bill. Because ultimately, that's all. Here's the thing. The only option that works, again, this isn't for having a pizza shop. We want a variety of pizza shops. We want a variety of stores selling stuff. We want a variety of people inventing things. We want that. But there are certain services that make no sense. Health insurance is one of them. And we have been programmed into believing that private health insurance makes sense. As if they do a service. They provide no services. They filter services. People say, well, insurance companies do something special. Okay, what do they do again? They manage risk. What risk? Well, how much you pay for healthcare or whatever. Why do we need 1,000 insurance companies to measure risk? When we have one risk, the health of the American population. And if we have one person that collects money from the entire population and then says those that are unlucky to get sick, their bill is paid by this one entity, we forego all the incidental costs, paying for 100 different presidents of companies, paying for all these things are mitigated. But we have been taught to believe fallacies. We've been taught to forget math.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Many of the people who support Donald Trump, and I don't say this to be disrespectful, they either don't see or don't care how we're perceived around the rest of the world.
Oh my God, I'm fighting with my clicker fighting to try to get it off. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Let me just go ahead and point out that the credibility, this is just for Lee Grant. This is simple. The credibility of the Daily Wire, as I'm going to put on the screen for you, Lee Grant, is suspect. All right. Notice what it says here. Overall, we rate the Daily Wire right bias based on story selection and editorial position that align with the conservative right. We also rate them mixed for factual reporting due to the promotion of propaganda and few failed fact checks. It's not a place. Now, remember that you choose to look at Daily Wire because I trust that you may be a conservative and it fulfills your need for the way they write their stories. Now, if you simply decide you're here every day, and I'm glad for that, I honor that you're here, why not let's look at a more credible source? And this is a source of, I'm not mixed information. I am not mostly factual information. Politics done right is highly factual information. Just want you to know that when you look at these organizations who test the credibility of media online and otherwise, we are high in credibility. The media, the Daily Wire is not. Okay? Is not. Let's be absolutely clear. All right, let's continue before I move on. let me go ahead and start reading a few more things. Let's see. Village MCP says Steinbergen. Yes, I agree. I was more about how many who are homophobic are closet cases. Yeah, it's amazing, right? The biggest thing that I got was on TikTok where I saw lesbians for Trump. I almost fell out of my chair. And they're wearing their MAGA hats. Yeah, this is who we're for. And Trump want to kill them. It's ironic, isn't it? All right. Carl Cox says Eric Hayes it is a MAGA crowd who wants to eliminate democracy. I think y'all need to follow a woman. Her name is Cox. I can't remember her first name. Maybe Bruce will know who she is. She goes ahead and she explains how the Heritage Foundation is following one of the think tanks in Hungary that pretty much wants to eliminate democracy because, again, because democracy means women have equal rights, people of color have equal rights, etc. And they don't stand by those tenets. All right? They don't stand by those tenets at all. So therefore, they are completely against it. Okay. But it says, Lee, the Daily Wire, these media sources are moderate to strongly biased toward conservative causes, those story selection and or political affiliation. They may utilize strong loaded words in an attempt to influence an audience, publish misleading reports and omit information reporting that many may damage conservative causes. Some sources in this category may be untrustworthy. Overall, we rate the Daily right bias based on story selection and editorial positions that align with conservative right. We also rate them as mixed on factual reporting, so you cannot trust them. Again, simple. All right. All right, let's see what else we got here. Farvet, I have no more patience for idiocy today. Hey, be my guest, my brother Michael. I know sometimes you just can't take it anymore for people who choose to be willfully ignorant. You cannot help it sometimes. I have my patience is extraordinarily large, so therefore I can take it. That's why I do what I do. All right, Gene Daigle says, the billionaire Republican elites in the Federal Society with Leonard Leo that paid off the Supreme Court and federal judges and the Heritage Foundation that is supposed to be a 501c3 but are for DJT. Yeah, what can I say? Strigen, Egberto certainly has more patience for the right-wing bubble nonsense than I do, but Egberto doesn't read out the garbage. No, I don't. I stopped that. Bridge MCP gave me some balance there as far as, she wants to kick them out. I want to keep that conversation going. All right. You yourself are a bit of a... Oh, God. No, Lee. One of the smartest people in this room is, in fact, Bridge MCP, Michael Rudnin, Bruce Pollard. Those are the scholars in our room. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see what else. What else we got here? Part of it. I'm scrolling down. Okay, I got some more videos for you guys. This one here is what Mesa, Arizona's Republican mayor had to say. Check this out. And he had more to say that I think I taped, but I didn't put it out yet. Check it out. There are a lot of never Trumpers out there. There are a lot of people who said they'll never vote for Donald Trump. There are a lot of people who either left the Republican Party or they've stayed quiet but not said much. So what we're really looking for or expecting is for the defections from the Republican Party to turn into active supporters of the Kamala Walz ticket, to the Kamala Harris Walz ticket. And guess what started to happen? We had Duncan from Georgia, who was the former lieutenant governor of the state, as well as many others that have started to come out and verbosely support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Well, in Arizona, at their rally, another one came out. I mean, he mentioned his support before, but he made it quite official as he came out at a rally. John Giles, mayor of Mesa, Arizona. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I am the very proud mayor of Mesa, Arizona, but I have to say I feel maybe a little out of place today, partly because we're in beautiful Glendale. Okay, there's that. But as you may know, I'm a lifelong Republican. All right? Thank you for your warm response. I have to tell you that I do not recognize my party. The Republican Party has been taken over by extremists that are committed to forcing people in the center of the political spectrum out of the party. So I have something to say to those of us who are in the political middle. You don't owe a damn thing to that political party. In particular, you do not owe anything to a party that is out of touch and is hell-bent on taking our country backward. And by all means, you owe no displaced loyalty to a candidate that is morally and ethically bankrupt. So again, to all of us, I would say, in the spirit of the great Senator John McCain, please join me in putting country over party and stopping Donald Trump and protecting the rule of law, protecting our Constitution, and protecting the democracy of this great country. That is why I'm standing with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
Yes, the Republican Party has left many Republicans in the fields. Yes, they've turned into a dangerous party, a clear and present danger. As the mayor said, they have become extremists. And you know what? Country first. He should be proud of himself for the courage of putting country first. A lot more need to show up, and we need to show what it's like when people power rules. Absolutely so. So I was very proud of Giles, Mr. Giles, Mayor Giles of Mesa, Arizona. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says, I will never understand how millions of so-called Christians blindly follow the most unchristian-like person in the world. That's what a cult does. We had Jim Jones also that took all those people from around the country to Guyana, my part of the world, where he eventually made them all poison themselves. So let's not forget that. It's something that happens. Michael Rodney says, MAGAs have gotten so conditioned to being lied to by their pundits that they have gotten accustomed to ignoring what BS they don't care about after it's proven to be lies. They just move on to the next set of lies and repeat, just hoping that something sticks. Progressives would discard those who are shown to be phonies. Hey, Eric. We are not the same. Let me tell you something. What I decided to do. I am not going to give cover. Right now, Trump don't know how to fight Kamala. So right now, their people are out in the field scouring to find anything they can find. People that are willing to lie. People that are willing to distort the truth. Their opposition research is working overtime. You can rest assured that right after the Democratic convention, the onslaught will begin on Kamala Harris. She slept her way up to all the positions that she had. They're going to really lay it on thick. Guess what I am not going to do? And guess what I expect bloggers and the media will always fail us. We are going to continue to promote what it means, number one, to support a party that is intent on moving us forward, and the danger that it will be to support the evil incarnate that Donald Trump represents. Welcome aboard, Shakula Hairstylist. Great to see you here. And I think I gave you a shout out already, Sister Steigen Bergen Greek, right? Okay, let's see what else we got. E22, I watched this Secular Talk video earlier today and couldn't take it. This is the fourth time Israel has bombed a school. Israel, Netanyahu, and the IDF, all these leaders need to go in front of the World Court and be condemned to death at this point in time, in my humble opinion. and I don't say that lightly. These guys are the instantiation of war criminals, and I mean the level of death. The level of death that these guys have inflicted on human beings, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Okay, I'm going to put this on the screen with a bit of trepidation, Bridge MCP. Is that even real? You see, when I see pictures like this now, I can't discern if it's real or not, right? So I put it on the screen just for laughs, but I'm not putting it on the screen to say that that is really JD Vance in drag. So I'm going to put this here with a message. Read what it said. Let's see what it said. It said, I don't have anything that it said with it, Bridge. I'm scrolling it up. I don't see anything. I don't see any wordiology or anything. Am I missing something? I don't see anything. Read what you said. Okay. Egberto, JD, there are a few pics from former friends at Yale. I researched it. True. How come the right isn't flipping out? Screen. So you're okay. I'm going to take it as valid. Bridge MCP says she researched it, and I trust her as a source of information. So apparently this came from Bridge's friends. Let's go ahead and Bridge, when you do some more validation for me, I'll make a blog out of this. Please validate it for me. I need help in sourcing. Remember all the work that I have to do. And today, right after the program, I have to go to a Democratic thing at Humble Democrats talking about Project 2025. And Bruce, I forgot to mention that to you. I'm heading out of here about 5 o'clock or so to go out there for this thing. Let me know if you're interested. I just thought about it now that it's right here in town. We can head out to the place and check it out at Kukos on the belt. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Let us see what else we got here. Bear with me as I get that off the screen now. Politico. Every August, some of the best hackers in the world break into voting machines to help officials identify and fix vulnerability problem. Their findings will likely come too late for 2024. Okay. What else have we got here that needs reading? If I didn't read something that must be read, I'll point it out and I'll do it. But for now, what I am going to do, let's see what else we got here. My next video is about O'Donnell destroying the free press. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. Go ahead right now. I've been saying for a long time that the American mainstream media, and specifically the media many like to call the liberal media, the progressive media, the mainstream media, that somehow I've been saying they were complicit in the election of Donald Trump. Why? Because of the way they covered it. Look, let's be clear. It's not like the leaders of these media conglomerates don't know what they did. It's not that they don't know what happened. In fact, Larry Moonves, the former CEO of CBS, said it plainly. He said, Donald Trump may not be good for the United States of America, but he's sure as hell good for CBS. What he really meant is, by putting this caricature on, he got a whole lot of coverage. He got a whole lot of eyeballs. He got a whole lot of clicks on the websites for CBS, etc. So again, the media was complicit in allowing Donald Trump to snow the Americans into electing him as president. And to put it bluntly, if we look at January 6th and all these other things that are happening, not only Fox News is complicit, but the mainstream media for giving Donald Trump plausibility, giving him the belief, giving many Americans the belief that it is okay for somebody of this deviant behavior, this mental ineptitude that governs him, that his values or his criminality from before he was elected the first time somehow could be placed on if that's what the people want, I mean, if they covered it like this guy was a normal human being, of course Americans would give him a chance. And with this guy using the grievances that many Americans have against the system, it opened the door to give him plausibility. Well, the media is doing the same thing again. The last news conference that he gave was a perfect example. Over an hour, they gave this guy to bloviate, lie, etc. No comeback. They simply screwed up and they allowed it to continue. Lawrence O'Donnell took about 15 minutes and destroyed the mainstream media, destroyed them in pointing out their dereliction of duty, in pointing out how stupid they are. And it was artfully done, perfectly done. Now, I kind of summarized it I cut it up a whole lot to the 16 minutes into a 5-minute or so segment that you need to listen to. So listen to this segment of Lawrence O'Donnell telling some truths I hope the media hears, but I don't really care if they hear it because that's why we are here. Independent media is here and you are here. Lawrence is going to ask a favor of you on what to do to the mainstream media as they continue to take us back. Check this out and then we'll take it on you.
It was 2016 all over again today. Donald Trump spoke at his home in Florida for over an hour, and all of the cable news networks, including this one, carried it live, just like they all did repeatedly in 2016. It would be hard to find a sentence in what Donald Trump said today that did not include at least one lie. Some of the networks tried to play catch-up with fact-checking after Donald Trump finished speaking, but that, of course, is way too late and utterly useless. No network even attempted to fact-check every lie Donald Trump told. Every network has the capacity, especially with these wide screens we now have at home, to run a live scroll at the side of the screen, fact-checking many. For example, when Donald Trump said, quote, Kamala Harris is not smart enough to do a news conference, the networks could have simply put on the side of the screen, Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University and University of California Hastings College of Law. Of course, Donald Trump proved once again today that he is not smart enough to do a news conference by saying something that was provably false in every response he gave to every single question. Most of those were knowing lies by Donald Trump. But many of the falsehoods Donald Trump spread today came from that vast well of stupidity that takes up most of his brain. The stupidest person who has ever won a nomination for president stood there in front of those reporters and said his opponent isn't smart enough to do what he was failing at right in front of those reporters. And to make a bad news coverage situation worse, none of the networks carried Kamala Harris's speech live after the Trump appearance. This network brought you the last few minutes of Kamala Harris's speech live. It's 2016 all over again. The same mistakes are being made. I have never seen an industry slower at learning from its own stupid mistakes than the American news business. And you cannot expect them in the next 89 days to figure out what they haven't been able to figure out in 9 years, how to cover a Trump for president campaign. One of the Harris Walls campaign slogans now is, we're not going back. But we just went back today. We went back 9 years in the press coverage of the campaign. Donald Trump gets credit from the people he lied to today for lying to them. They appreciate it. Reporters understandably and incorrectly believe that the most important thing a candidate can do is answer their questions. But they don't know what an answer actually is. Words spoken after their question marks are not necessarily answers and are never answers when they come from Donald Trump. There are rumblings in the news media now about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate not doing what Donald Trump did today, stand up in front of reporters and take their questions. And some of the tinier minds in the news media continue to give credit to Donald Trump for standing up and lying in response to every single question they ask. A lie is not an answer. Donald Trump never answers reporters' questions. Never. Anyone in the news media who tells you that Donald Trump has answered reporters' questions and Kamala Harris hasn't is lying to you. And they're too stupid to know that they're lying to you. Donald Trump answered no questions today. None. He stood up there in a room where he made sure the reporters' questions could not be heard by the TV audience. And so when he spoke, the TV audience had no idea what the question was. Most of the questions were terrible. Questions about campaign strategy. What a waste of a moment with a convicted felon former president. Donald Trump did not answer questions today. And anyone who tells you that is not smart enough to know what an answer is. Anyone who then tells you that Kamala Harris has to answer questions from reporters because Donald Trump already answered questions from reporters is lying to themselves and to you, and you must not allow them to do it. Please crush them on social media when they do it, because they will do it. Now, I hope Kamala Harris answers questions from reporters and from voters, but she has absolutely no greater obligation to do so because of what Donald Trump pretended to do today. The first time Kamala Harris does do a press conference as a presidential candidate, the reporters that were assembled today should all agree among themselves to apply the same rules that they decided to use today. No shouting, no follow-up questions, and no interrupting each other, and no interrupting the candidate, no screaming. Now, I wouldn't suggest those rules if the reporters hadn't just imposed them on themselves today in their participation in what Donald Trump turned into a charade.
Lawrence O'Donnell nailed it. And the way he ends it, let the media give the same treatment that they've given to Donald Trump to Kamala Harris. Because if she were to get the same treatment that the media gave to him, the same respectability, the same silly questions, the same questions that amount to nothing, then she would be able to generate her own narrative without having to filter it through a corrupt media and then get to the American people directly. Again, let's be clear here, folks. The media's dereliction of duty in 2016 is re-emerging. It's raising that head again in 2024. But it's up to us. Here we have independent media right here and others to do it. One of the things I want to tell you, though, is please make sure that we, those of us in the independent media, are funded appropriately so that we can continue to do the right thing and expand the message, the real message, and not what the mainstream news media is trying to get out there. I tell you what, Lawrence O'Donnell, he nailed it. All right. Yes, he nailed it. He nailed it. He nailed it. By the way, I want to address something from our good friend, Steigen Bergen Creek. She said, we should be celebrating JD questioning his sexuality. We should be encouraging him to embrace his nature. There is an opportunity to have a conversation how this is normal and brave. Now, I have a bridge to sell you, my sister. Do you think these guys will ever entertain that? Did you hear the message I spoke about lesbians for Trump? These are people that don't function correctly in their minds. JD himself is one of them. In his case, in the case of the two women who said lesbians for Trump, they were genuinely mentally incapacitated. I got that. JD Vance isn't. He is going to toe the line in his attempt to move up in the MAGA domain, not realizing that the MAGA domain is essentially dead. But there's a difference. He doesn't have any desire for an intellectual conversation on drag or anything else. He doesn't. Okay? He doesn't. So now it seems like the picture is true. I'm still not going to bet my life on it, but it seems like the photo is in fact true. Now, Michael Rudnin said something that bore repeating when I questioned the photo. He said, again, yes, the photo is real. The New Republic. J.D. Vance evidently did some cross-dressing back in law school on Sunday. A photo of an Ohio senator and Republican vice presidential nominee wearing a blonde wig and dressed as a woman was posted on X. It didn't take long before the picture was trending with hashtag #SofaLorraine, a play on the words to the false rumor that Vance performed a sexual act with a couch. When the Daily Beast reached out to Vance to see if the photo was real, the campaign did not deny its authenticity and also refused to comment further. The source of the photo is from one of Vance's classmates at Yale Law School, Travis Whitfield, who said the picture was taken by a different classmate in 2012, when they were all students. Whitfield sent the photo to a podcast host, Matt Bernstein, who then uploaded it to X. Uh-oh. All right, what else have we got here? What else do I need to read real quick? Para ver, estoy leyendo. Of course, Mike Cisak said, it's a hoax. You know, you guys are going to give my brother Mike Cisak a heart attack. Yvette Avery Herod said, yes, with that red eye looking. I hear you, Yvette Avery. I hear, Yvette, you being messy? Sister Avery Herod, are you being messy? I know how they want to treat you now. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Paul Fleming says, Trump media stock drops 5% after quarterly loss, and GOP nominees return to X-Long Musk is slated interview. Trump Monday night live on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, he admits that it's as Truth Social is a sham because he's going to give this big interview on Twitter, not on Truth Social, right? Wow. And yeah, let's be clear here. There's something else that Paul Fleming says some people identify as ADOS or FBA, Foundational Black Americans. I got into it with people at ADOS, and you guys probably remember that. I used to have a former member of member of ADOS, and I told them how divisive the ADOS movement really is, because again, a lot of the people that are helping the ADOS movement are folks like me. For the policies that ADOS have been looking for, people like me, and they say, "Oh, you can be our ally, but you can't really be a part of us. You're the right kind of you know what, you know." It was sad, but anyhow, I have no fondness of ADOS whatsoever. Let's go ahead and do my last video, Pete Buttigieg, and we'll then take it on the other side. The Democratic Party's best communicator in tonality and substance is likely Pete Buttigieg. You know that your campaign is frailing when the only thing you can come up with is to attack a beloved governor, the governor that Kamala Harris chose for her vice president, the beloved governor of Minnesota, the state that is the 6th happiest state in the world, and you try to disparage a guy that has served 24 years in the military compared to the guy who's attacking him, who's only served 4 to get the GI Bill to go to school. Of course, you know, it is sad because, you know, whenever we're talking, we say things that sometimes we slip and say it and it comes out differently. In this case, Walt said something to the effect of weapons that he used in war. I mean, that could easily mean weapons that is supposed to be used in war. But somehow now the Republicans are going to grab onto that and try to make it a problem of false valor. You know, he tried to say that he was in a war when he wasn't in a war. And by the way, he retired when he realized he was going to likely go to Iraq. False again, when the reality is, hey, he served 24 years. He could have retired at 20 years to get his full pension, right? So they have to create these things. But then J.D. Vance on CNN wants them to believe that he is the virtue of truth. He wants to go out there and we only tell the truth. And how dare Tim Walz make a mistake and says in war, right? Well, Pete Buttigieg, who I think is likely the best speaker, the best supporter in the way he defends and the way he speaks about issues, the best communicator. I want you to listen to what he had to say.
If the only thing that they can find about Tim Walz to complain about is to disparage his military record that was clearly honorable. Remember, you can retire at 20 years, Tim Walz served for 24. And the fact that they have to go back to find a clip from 2018 to find the one time that he slipped up when he talks about the weapons of war that he carried and said something instead about carrying a weapon in war, it's kind of an exception that proves the rule in terms of how hard you have to look to find Tim Walz saying anything that isn't precise and accurate. But there's something, I think, much bigger at play here, which is I watched that interview and watched J.D. Vance present himself as suddenly very particular about precision in speech and very concerned about honesty. He's running with Donald Trump, somebody who has set records for lying in public life. He just gave a press conference where fact checkers estimate that he told 162 distortions or lies. That, frankly, is just impressive in terms of being able to physically do that. It's like the Olympics of lying. So maybe just because it's Sunday morning, I can't stop thinking about the scripture that says, how can you look at your brother and say, let me take the speck out of your eye when you have a plank in your own eye?
Jeff Buttigieg didn't mince his words. How can you talk about a splint in your eye when you got a plank in yours? How can you talk about the virtue of truth when the person that you are serving under is the Olympics of liars, right? He lies better than, if we had the Olympics for lies, he would not only get a gold medal, he would win running away. Pete Buttigieg, excellent job in describing, one, who J.D. Vance is, and likewise who the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is. The Olympics of lies. The Olympics of lies. And here is Michael Rudnin's piece here. He says, Kamabla, stolen valor. They've got absolutely nothing. It's amazing, right? They are flat-footed. They are flat-footed. E2247 says, Egberto, too vague. First of all, E2247 said that I did not speak about the continuous killing that Israel is doing. My brother puts it in our chat every day. I mention it every day. I condemn it every day. I don't know what could be more specific than to say, for the crimes, he does the same thing every day. He kills, he murders Palestinians. That's what he does, E2247, and I say it every day. Please, my brother, please, let's give credit where it's due. The first thing I did this morning is I told you, Netanyahu, for the crimes he's committing. What crimes has he committed? He constantly kills people. Come on, E2247. I don't think I deserve that wrath. Come on, my brother. You know better. All right. Paul Fleming says, lock him up is not who we want to be as a country. It goes to the very heart of why the rule of law matters. It is what separates us from countries where dictators arrest and persecute their enemies and freely commit crimes of fraud. Well, let the courts decide his innocence or guilt by jury of his peers. Of course, they won't let that happen. You know? I won't let that happen. Oh, Eric is trying to create a fight between progressives. Eric, it's not going to happen. E2247 has my respect. And we as progressives can disagree. All right? So don't make it more than it is. Don't make it more than it is. All right. Let's see what else we got here. We're at 58. Got to get out of here. So what I need to ask my brothers and my sisters is to support. Of course, I understand the Geneva Convention. That's why he's already been declared a war criminal. All right. That's why he's up for arrest. Let's be clear here. All right. Folks, please support the program however you can. And how can you? Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. Politicsdoneright.com/support is where you have all the different ways in which you can support the program. I'd like to ask you, most importantly, those of you who can, to become paid subscribers of my Substack newsletter called Egberto Off the Record. And it comes out several times a day, and I'm sure you're going to like the stories. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is the name of my newsletter. Again, it's free for everybody, but I ask you to become a paid subscriber. And those who become paid subscribers, bear with me 1 second. Those who become paid subscribers get to read all of my books online. And how do you do that? Let me just give an example. Para ver. All right. This is what the main page of the newsletter looks like. And of course, we send it by email to you. But those of you who are become paid subscribers get to click on this link that says my books. And all of my books, you get a chance to read free of charge, all on Substack. So if you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, you and become a paid subscriber, you get to read, as I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, and there are all the chapters of the book. That's, see all the chapters of the book that you get to read. You can also read the book that my bestseller, which is It's Worth It: How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. All these books are online that you can go ahead and read them right away. Likewise, you can get to read para ver, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. It's right there online, including a video that I did at a progressive church about the book. So please consider becoming a subscriber, a paid subscriber. All paid subscribers have immediate access to read all of my books online. So again, that is how we do it. That by doing that, you're supporting progressive media. And as you can see, we are rated very high by all the rating organizations. We are considered very highly factual. So it's worth subscribing. How do you do it again? You simply go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Anyway, I got to get out of here, my dear brothers and sisters. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.